Hello, welcome back. So we're going to have a look at some of these coins. Even though I'm not a financial advisor and I'm not your financial advice, this isn't financial advice. I just want you to bear that in mind when we look at these charts. Okay, I'm not telling you to buy anything or do anything. It's just my interpretation of what's been going on. So we'll start with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin on the daily has been making decent moves, okay, and very, very strong moves actually. And it's got to a point where it got rejected here. What we can see is a descending trend line. Okay, so every time we hit this descending trend line, this is the third time we've done it now. We find significant rejection from it and actually pull back quite dramatically each time. Now we're in day one now as a result of being pulled back from that descending trend line, and we came all the way back down yesterday to test this a really strong support of 11,200, which is a pretty strong actually, I would say, and it has been on previous attempts to fall below it. So we bounced up from there. So we've got strong rejection, we've got strong support. So we're kind of moving away in this kind of little, I call it a kind of a sort of a triangle wedge sort of area. Now what we know about these is that when they break, it's probably going to break for the up, let's say, but for the moment we're consolidating as a result of coming back down from that descending trend line, and might see another test of 11,200, but we're, like I say, in this area. Once this area is broken one way or another, then we'll know which way we're going to go. In the short term, that would be. If we break above it, then the long-term prospects are definitely better. Sort of medium to long term. What I would say is if we do break above this, we'll call it 12,200. If we can break above there and stay above there, and a significant break, towards 13 or 12,800 or so, then there's no reason why we couldn't make it back up to 14 and beyond again. But at the moment we're stuck in this little wedge area. Probably going to find bounces from here and maybe find rejections from here. Trends get broken. This trend will one day be broken. It might even be broken today. Probably going to be dancing around this area, I'd say, for a few days before it decides which way it wants to go. The indicators on the MACD anyway say that there is move to the up, so we'll see if it comes back up to test that area and see if it gets rejected again. If it doesn't get rejected, if it breaks through it, then yeah, everything's looking pretty good. If it gets rejected again, then expect to bounce at 11,200, and if that breaks, then we've got all these moving averages which are all facing up, which are going to be supports for us as well. So we'll have a support at 11,000, a support at 10,800, a support at around about 10,004, and if that all comes tumbling down, then we've actually got a base support here at, we'll call it first of all 10,000, but the lowest we could expect to go would be 9,200. That's a long way away. Okay, it's a long way away. We have made higher highs. Even though we've made lower highs, but we've also made higher lows. So we'll dance around in this area, see which way it goes. If it breaks above, then great. Anyway, let's move on to something a bit more special than Bitcoin, which is Matic. Okay, so we'll look at Matic first of all. We'll look at Matic on the tether value, because tether for Matic is going to make more sense at this point when we're making these moves up to map out supports and resistances than the Satoshi value. And just as a quick reminder as to why that is that back when we made our all-time high at what was that, 575 Satoshis, the reason that that is going to be difficult to look at this for sort of supports and resistances in comparison to where we were before is that Bitcoin is actually worth around 6,000 at this time here. Basically meaning that every Satoshi that we achieve now, every one Satoshi that's achieved is twice as hard as it was back then. So what I'm thinking, is that for us to have the same financial gains, we're going to have half the Satoshi gains. So we'll look at the tether value and we'll see how the tether's pairing out with Matic first. And then we'll have another look at the Satoshi values. So on this chart, the good thing is that this indicator, all indicators are actually looking very bullish still, even though we've made such massive gains over these last few days. This is all a result of the Coinbase considering listing Matic, and that's all it took for this to happen. Now, Matic is a coin which has got huge potential in the future. It's severely undervalued at where it is down here, and actually probably you could quite easily say it's undervalued where it is right here. When we think and you look at what they're looking to achieve and what they're quite likely to achieve as a blockchain, as a side chain. So what is going on? So this green line here, this big fat green one, this is our 50 EMA. See this big fat white one? This is our 200 EMA. All the other simple moving averages are facing up now, and if we get this green one to cross above this white one, and it's a significant cross and it stays above, in the same way that it did, well, I mean, it's such an early coin that you can't really say that it did, but would to forge a gap, a large gap between the two, in a sense, a reverse of what this death cross did, then we're going to look at a serious reversal in trend. But that at the moment has not yet happened. It looks like it's likely to happen, but it hasn't happened yet. This could all come tumbling down. It could quite easily come tumbling down. It depends what people want to do with the amount of Matic that they bought. If they want to trade it, if they want to pump and dump it, or if they actually want to buy it now and hold on to it, because the likelihood is that this coin is going to continue to go up quite dramatically over the years, and this would be a very good price to pick it up at. So it's all in the traders' hands at the moment. We don't have staking, we don't have any of these things. It's not even on Coinbase yet, so these moves are actually, even as bold as they are, they're actually quite delicate. But anyway, that said, if we do make this cross, then that would suggest a reversal in trend. The reversal in trend would probably, if that happens and it stays in that area, it stays above that green, stays above the white, then yeah, you've pretty much got a golden cross at that point, and then we're going to be looking at making steady moves up and away, and could quite easily come to top these areas here. That 2.7 cent, that is a significant support. Our first line of support, a significant resistance. Our first line of resistance that they're actually getting towards now is 2 cents. 2 cents had been a very strong area of support for us actually on our way down from this. It's going to be a very significant resistance to break above as well, I would expect. That would be the halfway point really from a decent recovery from our all-time highs. Now, is it going to break above that? I'm surprised to see this move, to be honest with you. I am surprised to see this move. But nothing, again, will surprise me with Matic. It's a very early coin with a lot of potential, a lot of people looking to jump on the bandwagon. A lot of people want to hold these coins, because I'm not joking, when I saw this coin and read all about it, I picked up quite a lot way back here, around about 1 cent. And to be honest with you, when I heard that they're going to be doing staking and things like that, I was thinking, well, this would be a great coin to hold in the long term anyway. So we'll see where it goes. 2 cent being our first resistance that we're getting very close towards now, and might see a significant pullback from that area. And then what we're likely to see would be a pullback, maybe back down to around 15. I say 15, 1.5 cent. And then we'll have to see where it's all going to go from there. So first resistance 2 cent. Second strong resistance would be around 2.4 cent. And third strong resistance is going to be around 2.7 cent. If that breaks, then the next area that we've got to go to would be 3, as a psychological number, 3 cent, but 3.4 cent is a very, very strong, extremely strong resistance level. If we break above there, our all-time highs are probably relatively easy to achieve at that point. But again, this is all driven off the back of just information. That it's likely to be listed on Coinbase. Very likely to be listed on Coinbase, to be honest with you, but it's not listed yet, but it is very likely. We'll see how we go from there. So let's have a quick look at the Satoshi values. Doing very, very well. Bitcoin's also made moves which has, slowed it down to an extent, but it looks like we've still got plenty of room to go now. I think Bitcoin's got a bit of room to go down, so we'll see these Satoshis increase as Bitcoin decreases. But again, like I said, to reach these all-time highs here, of getting towards 600 Satoshis, to get back to that level, the USD or the Tether value would really have to be twice that of what it was before. So we're going to be looking at having to achieve something along the lines of around 8 cents. To get to these levels here, unless of course Bitcoin comes tumbling down, and it would have to come tumbling a lot down. It would have to come down to we're talking $7,000, $6,000 for a Bitcoin for it to get up to this area. and to achieve our all-time highs of 4.5 cents. But things are looking very good for it. So we'll move on to some other coins if you're interested, which you might be. So Celr usually trends alongside Matic because they are partnered with each other, so they do share each other's good news, and we do see that happening here. What I can say though is that Celr wasn't one of those coins that was suggested to be listed on Coinbase, and so it's not really moved in the same way that other coins have, but neither has ERD, and that's made some significant moves, and we'll look at that later. So where are we going to go from here? Okay, so we're looking at it now on the daily chart. Okay, so we're still underneath the 50 EMA, and that is still sort of bending down, so it's still got a way to go. This coin here is pushing up to the top of its Bollinger Band. If it can break above there, it's going to find resistance around 1.2 cent. And if it can break above there, then it might suggest a reversal in trend. It looks like it's got plenty of room to go. It's riding on the back of Matic, and whatever Matic's going to do, Celr is going to do, but at a reduced rate. And if we can have a look here with the Bitcoin pairing, we can see that it's actually not quite as strong as it would suggest on the Tether pairing. That's not such a big deal, I should say, though. It's still recovering slowly and surely, which is very nice. But yeah, nothing to write home about, I'm afraid. There are other coins doing a lot better than this one. BitTorrent token is not one of those coins, however. BitTorrent token is making newer lows every time. We're actually down here at 6 satoshis now, which is pretty goddamn bad. And if we look at the Tether pairing, we're basically trending down and sideways. What I would say though is that the range of movement here is ever so small indeed. We do trend with Bitcoin, so if Bitcoin goes up, BitTorrent token moves up a little bit. If Bitcoin goes down, BitTorrent token actually goes down alongside with it, more or less at the same speed, or sometimes more. So it's actually can't win at the moment. All moving averages facing down. A little bit movement to the up, I would say, for the rest of the day. It's got to find its own trend. Okay, it's got to find its bottom level, and it looks like to me, looking at this now, with just the fact that it's actually trending so sideways now, that we actually might be looking to form an actual bottom at this level, and that remains to be seen. We need to see some strong moves up and some sort of higher highs and higher lows. Until we see that, this is still a no-go. We've got to wait this one out. Harmony One. This is one of the coins that Coinbase is considering listing, and we see similar moves to that of Matic here on the Tether value. Very strong, not as strong as Matic, but very strong indeed. Significant rejections, I should say, from these previous supports, but they do break through them. This nice big candle here actually being rejected it's just at the 50 simple actually, and the 50 EMA is just shortly above that. So if we can break above we'll call it 1.5 cent. Then we could be looking at a really, really strong move at that point, because the next resistance, I would say, is going to be all the way up here at 2 cents. So there could be a very big move with one if we can break above that area. Right, so one on the Bitcoin is still looking pretty good. It's basically trending exactly the same as the Tether pairing, but a bit of a delay, and that's because we've got a strong Bitcoin at the moment. Again, if we can break above 1.35, our next resistance will be about 135 satoshis. Above that would be 151 satoshis, and then at that point it could be looking at trying to achieve something along the lines of 200 over time. ERD, bit of Elrond. So Elrond, a very new coin, very difficult for me to actually map this one out because we've already got very little to go from. We'll move to a lower time frame, go to a 4-hourly. So on the 4-hourly, actually looking pretty good still. Moving alongside this big news with Bitcoin, Matic in one. But it's strange really, because it's only moving through associations, and it's making bigger moves than Celr, which is actually partnered with Matic. So a lot of this is going to be FOMO, and it's actually quite telling really as to where this money's coming from. This is a good coin, I would say, and when we look at the Tether pairing, we can see some relative strength building up on it from before. Move to a lower time frame so we can actually see that. But for me, it was a bit of a no-go area. I didn't really want to touch it. It looked like we wanted to make a bottom here, but we actually fell right down here. Now we're making these moves. I would expect this move to continue if Matic continues, and it could quite easily, the bottom could quite easily fall out. But what's happening now as a result of this move? Moving average is facing up. MACD wants to go up. Volume's decreasing though, so we'll have to see where it's wanting to go. And we've just, because it's such a new coin, we've only just got this 200 EMA just sloping now, and it is still sloping downwards. But that's not such a big deal. I mean, it's quite far away, but if we can get above there, then everything's going to be pretty impressive for ERD as well. But Matic's leading the charge, boys and girls, so Matic is really the one to be watching. And we'll just move to our last coin here, which is Phantom. So Phantom basically not really doing a great deal. It is a relatively strong looking coin. It's finding rejections here at the 50, being rejected every time at the 50 actually. If we can break above that, which would be, we'll call it 2.4 cent. If we can break above the 2.4 cent and make a significant move above there to maybe 2.5 cent or beyond, then we could be looking at some decent moves. But this one looks like it wants to go sideways, to be honest with you. It just wants to go sideways for the moment. The volume isn't enormous, so we'll leave this one alone for the moment. We'll wait to see if it can break above there. And if it does break above there, if that area tends to support, these moving averages start to face up, then everything could be quite interesting for Phantom as well. But at the moment, Matic is certainly leading the charge, and it's continuing to make new highs, well, most recent new highs. And it doesn't really want to stop. So 2 cent is almost there. In fact, we did get a rejection from 2 cent, didn't we? Yeah, got rejected from 2 cent. So we're going to try and make another attempt to get it to 2 cent and above. Like I say, significant area there. If we do break above there, then yeah, we're looking at 2.2 to 2.4, then 2.8, then 3, then 3.4, and then back up to our all-time highs. But that's still a long way to go. Still a long way to go, but congratulations to Matic. That is a very big move, and if you watch my channel, you know that we follow Matic almost daily, so we've been waiting for something like this to take place in a while. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Let's hope for the best. Again, the bottom could fall out of this at any moment. We really want this golden cross to happen, and then we can really start to start talking about what's really going to go on. Just to reiterate the fact that these coins are very new, these charts are very new, there's very little to go by, to be honest with you. It's very difficult to map out the trajectory on such a small history. I do try my best for you guys, but you'll obviously see that something like this is very difficult to work out. However, this is a second wave now that we're having of strong moves. So usually once we got, the rule of thumb was, there are cycles involved with all charts. And because we're creating new cycles every time, we've not even begun a cycle yet. Very difficult to work out where it's really going to go. In the next few years, we can look back at Matic charts and we can really start to, at that point, be a bit more strategic and tactical about what it is that we're actually doing. But really, what we're doing now is we're running with it. And we've really got very little to go by. It doesn't mean we don't have anything to go by. We do. We know that 2 cent is a strong resistance, and that it would also prove to be a strong support if we were to break up and above it. That's something we do know with Matic. We also know that our strongest ever resistance is ever going to be is where it actually collapsed back down from here. That's 4.5 cent. We know that because we can see that. We also can see, these are other things that we can definitely see, is that this area here is going to be a very strong support, resistance too. Not here, I'm going to move it down. Where these tops were, that area here, around 2.7 to 2.8 is also going to be a very strong resistance. We know that for a fact, so expect to see pullbacks from there. These are the things that we do know. But other than that, we've just got this golden cross that we're waiting for. When we achieve that, then things could quite easily change in the favour of Matic. Anyway, I know that's a very long video, and I do appreciate you sticking with me to watch it. I hope you have a nice day. Thanks for subscribing and donating. I really appreciate that. And like I say, take it easy and have a lovely day.